Hey, I'm Laura.
I'm Jane.
And we are Birds of Clay.
And we're here to talk all things Australian pottery and ceramic art.
So put your kettle on.
And let's have a chat. We would like to pay our respects to the traditional custodians on the lands on which this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge the rich history of art, craft and storytelling that has been occurring for millennia, and acknowledge elders past, present and country as provider, protector and guide. Working with clay is intrinsically linked to country, and we would not be here without the care and connection that our First Nations peoples have shown for thousands of years on this continent we call Australia.
Hey Jane.
Hi Laura.
Hey Laura.
Hi.
How you
Jane and
doing?
Laura. Good.
Thanks for having us in your amazing rabbit warren of studios here at Vacant Assembly.
Thank you for making the journey.
That's so good to be here.
It's so good, yes. So we're talking with the lovely Laura Pascoe today. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, Laura?
Yeah.
And your practice? Thank you.
Sure. So I have a background in architecture. I studied architecture in Brisbane and practiced as an architect for about 10 years. And at a point I needed something that was more hands-on and more, tactile and immediate. And I started an evening clay school class. So a class, there's a school called Clay School in Brisbane. And I quickly found that I was sort of obsessed with ceramics.
We can relate.
Yeah. So that sort of shifted my trajectory a bit, which was really cool. So for ages, I just, I practiced ceramics just as like a mental health therapy, art expression, in addition to working in architecture. And then slowly I just sort of morphed and always then wanted to be spending more time with clay and less time in front of a screen. And I guess if I keep talking, it'll be a really, really long paragraph and not an intro.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to hear about clay origins. I always love clay origins. So background in architecture.
Yeah.
How do you feel, how does architecture and clay, is there crossovers? Did you feel that you brought something from architecture when you started working with clay?
I don't think it was very conscious, but a lot of people say to me that my work looks quite architectural. So I think it might be more subconscious for me. But certainly the training that I had as an architect is about composition and form and balance. So I think that's probably more just general design as well, that kind of goes into how I make my work. But I certainly don't really think about it very much. It's more subconscious. Yeah.
That's interesting because looking at your surfaces that have all the different textures on them, but they do very much look like the balance is just so good.
Oh, thank you.
They look very planned out. The composition is just it's so different. There's so many different parts of texture, and they make me kind of think of mountains and cityscapes at the same time.
Thank you. That's kind of what I think too. I feel like my work always tries to be a little landscape. Like any piece that I make, I think there wants to be a horizon line of some kind. And over the years I've gotten more and more, I'm going to say obsessed with carving. Sometimes I think I'll just throw this piece and I'm not going to carve it. And then I still carve it.
Calls to you, does it?
Yeah. And so there's something about trying to tear up the uniformity of a wheel thrown piece. but also achieving balance. So I really like the contrast between like a super fine rim and the horizontal throwing rings, and then contrasting that with like a vertical carve and maybe a little rip of clay, because I think that sort of tells a story about the materiality of the piece and the process in which it was made. But then also, yeah, I think, like you say, I'm maybe working at a few different scales and thinking, oh, but is this a mountain? and is it a gap between hills or a river or a something? And so, yeah, then I kind of make those little extra marks to highlight bits that I think kind of need some extra something. But yeah, I don't plan it from the start. It's more like each step is a reaction to the previous one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I remember seeing your vessel. It was just one vessel at Delicious.
Oh yeah, at Paroy.
Yeah, and that was like when I was just first kind of really getting obsessed with clay, and I went with my family, and I remember that piece just really is so quiet, but it was so impactful. And I mean, we talked about this earlier, how we both love similar colour palettes,
true.
but I just remember it standing out. And it felt of place.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking before about pink and green, and that piece has that pink and green colours in it. And I think, yeah, for me, that combo works really well as that landscape, because it's like those green tones are like hills, and the pink is like an epic sort of sunset sky. So in a very abstract way, I guess. That's
and
on my
very
mind.
Up here in Queensland.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I think that's something that stands out a bit, is that, it feels like home. Like those colours
nice.
in that place.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's being surrounded by gum trees. Pink and green is, whenever I pick up a leaf that is both pink and green, I just think, that would be a great glaze.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, once my mum picked up some succulent, like all of these succulent leaves that had fallen, you know how they just break off entirely, and she just arranged them next to one of my platters, and it was like all of the colours in there were in, each of those little leaves. You know how they get that sort of sunburnt, pinky, peachy tone, and then that really kind of beautiful silver green. So, yeah, I think the same. I see those colours around and love them.
Your mum sounds cool too.
Yeah, mum's cool. Yeah, she's
Is she an artist?
She's a textile artist. Late to admitting the title of artist, but she has always been an artist.
Amazing.
But yeah, she's come from a background of making clothes, and now she just adds stitching to things. And last year we had our first group show together with two other great artists, Rose Moxman and Sylvia Watt, and yeah, that was really beautiful. So that was Mum's first exhibition as an artist. So 2D textile works on the wall. Yeah.
Did you curate this?
Yeah, I did curate it, and it was so beautiful. We called it Kin because Sylvia and Rose are sisters, not related to Mum and I, but there was just this beautiful connection between all of us, and it was so amazing when we put our work in the room. It was in the project space at Vacant Assembly, and we'd had a couple of conversations beforehand about what we each might make, but really there was no limitations on it. We'd sort of seen some of what we were each making. But yeah, when we went to unpack and install, it was just like this family of pieces, quite different: oil paintings, textile sculpture, and ceramics. And yeah, the threads that wove through all of the pieces were just really beautiful. So that was a really fun show to curate because, it just was special. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. I think it's interesting, isn't it? I feel like with creative parents, it's like they put like creative parents sow the seed.
Yes.
And then we kind of take it and run with it, and then they see that and then kind of also grow as well. I don't know. I've seen this a lot with folks.
Yeah. That's really beautiful, I think. I should ask Mum more directly, but I think she would agree with that I've helped encourage her to show her work more broadly, which is an awesome return when, you know, she's encouraged me for my work over the years.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, very special.
Yeah. I know, I'm similar with my mum.
Yeah, that's nice.
She still struggles with self-confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's amazing having creative parents that to also grow up seeing creativity and not thinking like it's, like a nothing job.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not like you're just taking the piss. It's like, oh, okay, no, it's a real thing that can be a real job.
And is valuable to all the people around you. Yeah. I'm really lucky like that. All of Mum's siblings, she's one of 6, they're all creative. And so they've not necessarily had careers as artists, but they certainly value art, which, as you say, Jane, I think it really encourages young people to accept and embrace art as if not a career, something to pursue for yourself and your own expression.
It's just a natural everyday thing. Hey,
totally.
You know, we have a culture in our family just handmade cards even.
Yes.
You know,
lovely.
just those little acts are so enriching. Like I used to love getting out the card box with all the bits and pieces and just making a card for someone's birthday.
So true. Yeah. And, it was similar in our family.
I think in our society sometimes we go, oh, that finishes with childhood.
Yes.
But seeing adults, and I don't know, I mean, we could get into a huge conversation here, but we don't have the time or the space. But, you know, there's something about craft that sits in that space too that can be so domestic and so everyday that actually really excites me.
Yes.
And it can be working class, it can be not in the institution, but it can be just every day. And I actually think it's so beautiful and worthy. And
I totally agree. And I think, I just had memories when you were talking of making cards as a child, but also the fabric and reuse of what some people might see as scraps, and finding the beauty in tiny little bits of paper, like a edge cut off of paper or of fabric, and kind of like piecing those things together and creating something beautiful. I think, that's something that was just seems natural to me that maybe doesn't happen so much anymore. I don't know.
I don't know. And maybe it's just we've been lucky to have those families.
Yes,
and maybe that's why we're all sitting here today.
It's
because, you know, that felt like a valid thing in our lives. Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, so interesting.
I've been wondering about, I guess, you doing architecture and then also like moving into ceramics, how much of I guess they work together in a way, but also like architecture would be so planned, measured.
Yes.
Whereas clay is so, I guess, free flowing. Like you said, you don't really plan out your designs, you kind of go in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, have you found any ways that clay kind of complements architectural things?
Certainly. And I think it's something that I want to explore a bit more. I've been making pendant lights for a while now, so you know they can be considered as an architectural fitting, and lighting's really interesting to me and how light affects space. So that's one thing that I could talk about for eons, but also things like ceramic tiles and handles and objects that I guess interact directly with architecture. I think I'm super interested in. I'm probably often thinking about those kinds of ways that ceramics interact with architecture, and very much often appreciating old versions of that. So beautiful old ceramic tiles and I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on it because they're so different but complementary in a way.
Yeah, it's like where ceramics can sit in space, and I think even loose functional ware can do that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Be part of a room,
It's all just kind of about space, isn't it? And interaction and use.
Yes.
Or functional areas.
Yeah.
But even, I guess, sculptural work has this, can hold space.
That's true.
Like a building, yeah. Oh, so interesting. I was like, I love this idea of space. It's something you could really dig into, I think.
Yeah. And more to what you were saying, Laura, like, I think the amount of planning and I guess rules and regulations that occur in architectural practice can be overwhelming and really boring.
Okay.
So there's something really joyous about having an idea, making the thing, finishing the thing, and then enjoing it, which I feel like is really hard to do in architecture. Like that process of like the concept, from the concept to the finished product is like a really complex, long, beastly thing in architecture. And it can be beautiful, but there's so many facets to it. So I think that, something that comes to mind is so many people that have started ceramics after me and said things to me like, you're a potter. Oh, it takes so long. The process of ceramics, if they've come from painting or some other thing, they're like, it's so long and things take ages to dry and you really have to plan ahead. And I'm like, well, try designing a building. That takes a really long time. So that's sort of part of my appreciation of ceramics too.
Yeah. That's great. I love that you're like, ceramics so fast.
Yeah. Speedy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Laura, you spoke about starting your clay journey with clay school, which, we don't live in Brisbane, but I do know about clay school a bit. And it seems like there's quite a strong community around it. And I guess I've been following your practice for a bit and it feels like community is a big element. How do you see, I guess, community in your practice?
Oh yeah, you're right. It's throughout it. Although you might not see it in the actual finished product of the work, I think I don't think I would ever choose to have a studio at my own home by myself. I think I'm someone that likes to be around people. So there's, I just love the conversations that happen with fellow artists in a shared studio. And certainly Clay School was a good example of that when I started. The support and information that come from other people is so invaluable. And I think it's I guess it's like emotional and I don't know, just I can't think of the word, but technical and knowledge base as well. So I think I just learned so much from other people that I wouldn't want to put myself in a room by myself making work, I think.
It can be pretty lonely.
Yeah. And certainly there's times where I'm like, whoa, I just need to stop talking and make some work. And we do that, put the headphones on and just go. But I really value having people around. And I think the other thing that we're really lucky about, I might be jumping ahead, but here at Vacant Assembly is the opportunity to display our work and share it with community. And that's, so I guess there's the internal artist community and then the more exterior connection to the community around us. And having the opportunity to quite regularly show show my work and get feedback from local community is awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about where we're sitting.
Yeah.
So we're just opposite, we're in Kurilpa, aren't we?
We are in Kurilpa.
West End, Brisbane, and Turrbal and Jagera
That's
country.
right.
Yeah. A beautiful country down where the river kind of does this beautiful loop.
Yes.
And
Kurilpa of the water rats.
Yeah, which I have lived here, and yes, it is true, there's a lot of rats. We've had quite a few rat issues in some share houses around here.
Yep, this building is not without rats.
But yeah, so this is a really beautiful, it's kind of like a warehouse space. I mean, we're sitting in a kind of office space. So tell us, Vacant Assembly, what is it? How did it come about?
Yeah, so it came about because I was looking for a studio, and two of my good friends who became my business partners were also looking for a new studio. I had my studio at Mappin's Nursery just down the road for 3 years before being here. And so, and I've lived in West End for a long time. So I was super excited to find somewhere in West End. And so, ceramics need like some specific things in a building. You can't just it's hard to just pull up under a house like some other cool studios do. So I was looking for somewhere with like kind of a loading bay, ground floor, easy access, and to roll my kiln in, and 3-phase power, that kind of thing. Anyway, this building came about through conversations in the West End community, and it was up for lease. And so Sarah and Sam and I looked at it and we were like, wow, that was a lot bigger than what we were thinking. I said to the kind of property person that I spoke to when I was listing what I needed, I was like, at least 35 square meters and, like preferably a loading bay and or a roller door and 3-phase power. And here we have 550 square meters, 2-story building. Yes, so it was definitely bigger than what we were thinking, but the owners wanted us to take on the whole building. And Sarah and Sam had been involved in art spaces in the past, particularly Jugglers and Bib and Brace, and so they had more experience than I with kind of artist-run initiatives and that kind of thing. So, and I guess I had the architectural knowledge to sort of look at the building and think about how we could edit it to make it work. So we just dove in.
So good.
Yeah. And I guess, the way we kind of knew early on, there was no way we could afford the big rent without getting as many people in here as possible. And so that's kind of the basis of the business model, but also wanting to have an exhibition space so that people could show their work. And I think all of us, love community and connecting with other artists and people that appreciate art. So that was a big part of it as well. So it is a artist gallery, studios, pop-up space, kind of shared work office space, and sometimes retail space. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a great spot. I mean, over the road you'd have the markets that happen every Saturday.
Yeah.
So, and that's just people packing here then, don't they? So
Absolutely.
you'd have a lot of passing traffic.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, the street is certainly busier than it used to be. People will probably be able to hear the trucks in the background of this audio, but there's certain times of day and certain days of the week where it's a much more pedestrian feeling. Which is the kind of ideal version of things, where people just wander in off the street and sometimes say, what is this place? and so we give them the rundown and a tour, and we've certainly we've had some beautiful conversations with people over the years that otherwise maybe wouldn't have interacted with art, but just because of where we are. And I think there's something about the warehouse that makes it feel comfortable to people. Like if they're walking through a roller door rather than a fancy glass, schmick sliding door to a white box gallery. Yeah, we certainly get that feedback that people feel comfortable here. that's been really nice that people could come to an art exhibition having not had much connection to the art world in the past, and that they feel like they're welcome. Yeah,
it feels like that kind of almost like, I don't know, fits also with making vessels.
Yeah.
You know, it's like art that is accessible.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. It's great. I know, I remember coming here in the open studio years ago, and it was just so wonderful seeing this little hole in the wall. And also, you know, this area's seen a lot of gentrification.
Yes.
And massive changes. And to just see that there is still those kind of spaces that are like not perfectly clean with lots of rat bags making art. And it's just like, it's West End's funny like that. It's like hanging on.
That's true. I think there's something about the structure of a warehouse that supports that as well. Like just that its structure is exposed. You can see the roof trusses in the main gallery and the block wall, and certainly artists that are displaying their work in there, there's lots for them to respond to and to, like, both physically and structurally just easy to install things, but also spatially and conceptually with their work as well. And I think that's a nice kind of point of difference, and particularly we've got a lot of emerging artists that come and have shows here, so I think it's there's something that's kind of comfortable about that, more so than a really clean shiny space.
It's great. We love it.
So like having all these emerging artists and having shows here, is that where you kind of started with curating shows, like in this space?
Absolutely, and I really found that I enjoy it. I guess it's one of the ways that another way that I'm tying together my architectural background and work with art. I probably approached it in a bit of a similar way to my ceramics, in that I probably don't think about it too much in advance, curating. It's more of a check out all of the work, see it in the space, and then just sort of feel where it's going to work best. And I love working with artists to do that, because you find out more about their intention with the work as well by asking them questions about how they imagine people will see it, and then to help them to kind of get to that end point is really fab. And I was saying to you, Jane, before that I'm a bit picky about lighting. I love getting the lighting right for a show, and that's, I don't know, it sort of feels like the finishing touch to me, which is really nice.
You can make or break a show lighting. It's just something I'm learning, like just working as an install labourer. But like you'll be like, oh, I'm not sure about this show, and then you light it and you're like, whoa. And
it doesn't have to be fancy lights. Like we've got relatively, inexpensive lights here in the gallery, but it's just about getting them into the right spot and lighting the work well. And I think it makes a massive difference. But then it's led to me kind of selecting artwork for people as well. So I've done some nice projects where there's been like an office fit out or an apartment where people will tell me the type of art that they like, and then I get to do this awesome thing of kind of selecting a range of work for them to choose from, and installing it in their house or office or whatever it is. And that's like a dream.
Yes, that's amazing.
It's really great. I love it. I just think supporting artists that I know, whose work I value, is such a great benefit as well. And the people that have asked me to do that for them, as in the clients, often it's because they either don't have the time or they don't have the knowledge. They're not part of the art community, so they wouldn't know who to ask or where to go. And it's just such a nice benefit to both parties.
It's like matchmaking.
Totally. It's like matchmaking. And then it's like matchmaking with the art as well, and the space and the people.
All your favourite things.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I hope to get to, to be able to do more of that.
So I guess that brings up a question. Like, what is your life, like, what is your career made up of? So, like, how do you make life work?
Yeah.
Like, what are the elements?
Yeah. I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
And I might always be, and I've just made some changes recently, which hopefully mean that I can spend more time on my art practice. So Vacant Assembly has been so awesome, but it was a bit of a distraction from my practice. And we've just, in the last 6 months, been able to employ someone, Izzy Kingswell, she's an artist as well, to take on a lot of the role that I was doing at Vacant Assembly. So lots of booking the shows and all of the comms with artists and Benny High bookings and all of that kind of stuff. So that's great because I loved and still love doing that work, but I realized that it was taking away from my art practice. So it's been awesome to train Izzy up in those skills, and she's excited to learn those things and make those relationships with artists. So that's a little shift that I'm making, because I was feeling like I wanted more time in the studio and to be able to apply for more kind of competitions and do more exhibitions and things. So that's feeling good. And then I certainly need, like, sometimes other income to support, I don't know, eating. I still do design work as well, which is great. So when projects come up, it's probably not full architecture that I'm doing, more like interior design really. Sort of manageable small projects where I might just be selecting finishes for a bathroom or kitchen or that kind of thing. So that work helps to just give me a little income boost sometimes. And we kind of haven't gone down the path of another sort of chunk of work that I have done, which also grew out of architecture, but that was community engagement. So over the years with Susie Wiley, who I was working for at Surroundings, we developed a bunch of kind of tools and exercises and workshops to help people define what kind of spaces they want. And so that became essentially community engagement. So running workshops with people to kind of find the best case scenario for a building end product. So I still do a bit of that work, and I really love that too, because again, it's people and solving problems and kind of clarifying ideas, I guess. Yeah. So when those projects come up, I jump at them too. The hourly rate is a little bit better than Potter's income.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, it's all the things, isn't it? It's a bit, I don't know, I'm always like, I have to find the balance. And I think this last week, it's just like, it just isn't.
Yeah.
You've just got to keep going and
it changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's, I don't know, I've been thinking lately about, it's like maybe I should be a bit more seasonal about how I divide up the work. Like, I really love wood firing, but I never want to do that in summer. Ew, no thanks. So if I'm always going to hope to do a wood firing or two in winter, then it means that I need to make, a chunk of work before that. And also then there's like the Christmas kind of opportunity of showing and selling work. So yeah, I've just been thinking a bit more about that, and maybe the start of the year is more about like making a little bit of money to then get me through some making time, and then there's more opportunities for exhibiting closer to the end of the year. So yeah, I don't know, I haven't fully tested that out, but it's just an idea.
I feel like we just have to be constantly challenging our adaptability to everything and just rolling with it, because you never know who's going to reach out and ask for some really weirdly specific thing that fits your skill set. And you just have to make room for it.
That's totally right, Laura. I think in the past, and maybe one of the reasons why I've sort of decided to do less hourly work for Vacant Assembly is just to be able to say yes to things. Because I think that that's when, you know, some good cool shit happens, you know, when someone just says, oh, there's this group show and we'd love you to do this, or can you come down to Canberra and help me install and curate my show? That those kind of things I've been able to say yes to recently, where maybe I didn't before, where I felt like I had more responsibility and kind of commitment to be in one place. So I think you're right. It's like getting enough work to live, but also making space to be able to feel like we can say yes to things when they just crop up.
Yeah. Kind of trusting.
Yeah.
Too. Like, I feel like
yeah,
trusting that it'll work out.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, there's nothing coming up, and then all of a sudden all these things come up.
Yeah.
And you're like, that seems to just keep happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not they just appear. We're all working hard, and we're all, you know, it's not just I manifested it. But
yeah.
It's all through working really hard, but it's also just trusting that, I don't know, the world will provide.
Yeah. and knowing that it's not going to be a seamless flow of things, and just kind of coming to terms with that and being okay about it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How exhausting.
Yeah.
And exciting at the same time. Like both of those things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Which sounds like wood firing in a nutshell. Not that I've...
Yes.
We have, Jane and I, we've never done it before, so we're really interested to hear more about the role of wood firing in your practice and like...
Find it in? No.
Yeah, totally. It is a bit like that, isn't it? Yeah, as people wanting to do wood firing without property or a wood kiln, it's like...
We've got property.
Yeah,
this is the thing. I'm collecting bricks.
Okay,
I'm not sure if I should say this on the podcast.
Yeah, careful. But yeah, wood firing's great. It's my quick one-liner for people that know nothing about ceramics and wood firing is camping with a purpose. So it's like you get to be a fun gang together in some cool rural location, and you stay up late and have great conversations while playing with fire. Like, it's a pretty good
really
situation.
Like the best.
Yeah. It's really good. And there's a lot of alchemy in it. Like, it's a little bit witchy, which is great. And yeah, it's like physics and chemistry massively, which I don't have a background in, but I'm so much interest in. So I've been really lucky to do some wood firings with, you know, quite experienced older potters, and it's so amazing to absorb their knowledge, because it is a complex thing. But I also think I generally go into it with like you've got nothing to lose kind of frame of mind. So certainly it can be disappointing wood firing because you could, there's so many things, so many factors that can alter the end results on the pieces. But I think I love the process so much that it's not necessarily about the outcome. It's more about the process. But yeah, broadly it links in with the conversation we were having before about my for me and my work having a reference to landscape and nature. I think it's so epic to put my work in a wood kiln because nature is making a direct effect on the work. So that ash from the timber that is building the energy in the fire is landing on those pieces and creating a epic surface situation that is true only of that location and that time and that species of timber. I think it's so special.
So does it feel like when you're putting your work in the kiln that you're surrendering it to the process?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. Yeah. And certainly, because there's so many different, different locations in a wood kiln will create different effects, and some locations are much riskier than others. So I've had the opportunity to sometimes be like, okay, I'm going to put this pot in a really risky location, and I don't mind if it ends up as like we can't even see where it, it went with the kiln gods. But some of those pieces have been the most epic as well. Like even if they have kind of broken during the firing, then the way that they broke is epic, and the glaze kind of then melting over the broken part of the ceramic is epic. So yeah, I'm all for a bit of risk and let's see kind of approach to wood firing.
It kind of sounds like there's a level of like putting together mysteries when you look at the pots too. Like you're trying to figure out what hit it, where did the flame go?
Yes.
Like where did the ash go?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I love talking to people about that with the finished piece as well, because I think each wood-fired piece tells a story of its firing. Like what is the hot side and what is the cold side, and what direction was it sitting in? Was it lying on its side? And where was the wadding that supported it? You can see, or you can read that in the piece, which is so amazing. As much as I love my electric kiln, it's certainly not offering that kind of level of conversation and narrative about its process. Yeah.
So do you regularly wood fire? I mean, obviously in Brisbane, so it's a bit hard.
No, yeah, I've never done a wood firing in Brisbane, and it's kind of a fun road trip usually. So I guess I've been practicing ceramics for 12-ish years, something like that, and I've maybe done 6 wood firings, so not a heap. But in the last couple of years, I've been able to do at least one each winter, and I've got another one coming up. So I think that'd just be a basic goal, is to at least have one wood firing a year. I don't need to do it all the time with all of my work, but I certainly want to keep doing it.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to keep talking, because I'm I don't know anything, and I'm really keen to learn and build a wood-fired kiln.
Yeah.
Because, we have a good, what would you say, beginner community in Toowoomba? Yeah. Folks who are just super excited to find clay.
Yeah, cool.
And there's a lot of young folks at uni that just are keen
great.
Yeah, to have that nice little community around us. And I know one of our friends has fired with the North Pine Potters.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And, there's a few people around that are really keen. And
Yeah, there are people that are running workshops out with their kilns, which is a great way to start as well, is doing it with really experienced potters. I still don't think I'm like a beginner. And it's probably 10 years since I started. Do you know what I mean?
But you got to do it regularly, and you got to do your own kiln.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm I'll just make a kiln and work it out.
Yeah. Which you totally can as well.
Yeah.
But it's great to have.
Probably good to do it at least once.
Yeah, I would suggest that. Yeah. But certainly we've got so many beautiful elders in our pottery community, don't we? And their knowledge is just epic. So, and they're really willing to share. So
that's great.
I think it's good to, it's good to ask.
Yeah. I mean, I think where we are too, we're lucky. We've got resources.
Yeah.
There's a sawmill up the road.
Oh, amazing.
And things like that where you can, it might cost a bit of money, but you can get the waste from the sawmill.
Yeah.
Which I know great. I met Tanya up the north coast.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's how she fires a lot
fantastic.
With sawmill offcuts, and I'm
that's cool.
And just we have a heap of dead trees around. You don't want to take habitat.
No, but if you can do a firing with all fallen timbers and offcuts, that's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah,
you don't want to be you don't want to be using timber that could be used elsewhere.
No.
but yeah, there was a firing that I did at Sturt Gallery and Studios a couple of years ago, and well, actually, we were sort of firing 2 kilns at once. One was an anagama, so a climbing kiln, and that had lots of work in it. I think there was 18 people that did the workshop, so there was 18 people's worth of work. And yeah, it was Jan Kesby and Steve Williams that were running the workshop, and Steve said, oh, well, we're all here anyway, and there's this little fast fire kiln that we've got, so why don't we put it on as well, which is cool. So we were firing 2 at once, and the timber that we put in that, I think it was called an Olsen fast fire, that kiln. It's a downdraft type. Was all old pallets, so timber from pallets. So we were throwing that pine in there, like nails and all, and it was beautiful, that firing. And the end result in the firebox was just this pile of nails. It was so good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good way of getting nails out of timber.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really nice. Well, I think we've got a responsibility to, you know, to kind of fire with timber doesn't have a higher purpose. But yeah, it's cool to kind of experiment with things as well. And
So how long would an anagama take to cool down? Because it's so big.
Yeah, it's so big. So it depends on the size of the anagama. But that one, I think it was 4 days of cooling. Yeah. So most of the firings that I've done in anagamas, you sort of just leave it for the week anyway and come back the next weekend kind of thing. So, which is cool. You're right. Like there's a bit of, There's like the anticipation and that Sturt firing. I had gone down with my good friend Jen Hillhouse, and she had to come back home before the unpack. So the like FaceTime situation that we did when unpacking was the cutest. Like I just was like, look at your piece, look at this one. She's like, I can't see it, turn it over.
Oh my God, her piece that was in solutions was just spectacular.
Yeah, wasn't it amazing?
Oh, such a beautiful form.
Yes. She calls those her fish pots. So they're very much of the ocean. But they really suit wood firing, those pieces. But that was a cool thing to do. Just like call her and take photos and FaceTime. Because she was up here being like, I can't be at the unpacking.
That's It's hard when there's bad news. You're like, they all broke.
Luckily, I haven't had to be the bearer of that kind of news. I feel like there's always some gold, and certainly I've a lot of times had to refire some things that haven't reached temperature in a wood kiln, but those pieces are great too. So you can feel a bit at the time like overwhelmed, but once you spend some time with each pot, then you can find the stories and the joy in them. Or maybe put them in the electric kiln, make them a bit better.
That's beautiful. I love that kind of, I guess, scale and time that sounds like wood firing has, that you would value a piece so much because you've put so much labour into firing it.
Totally, and it is hard to put a price on those pieces as well. Like we have to, because we're commercial humans, but sometimes that's really tricky. Because it's kind of like, well, you can't actually charge what it's worth.
This is a $4,000 car. Because of all the love story, everything that's
exactly.
gone into it.
Wow. I mean, I would pay $4,000 for a wood-fired cup.
Probably would.
Not that I have that, but
one day.
I recently paid $300 for a wood-fired vase that I bought in Japan, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm spending this much money. Like, what am I doing? And I'm so glad I did. I love that piece, and it is inspiring and has memories attached to it, and it's just so special. If only we had a big budget, then we could all buy those special pieces and pay what they're worth, I guess. But,
I think what's nice though is when you're in a community, you can trade as well.
Totally.
I think that's something. I think even purchasing your piece at Golgong, it was at a price that I'm sure was very different to what it was in a retail environment. I felt like I could get a piece. And it was kind of how we connected.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'd seen your work and loved it, and we had this beautiful chat, and it was a real human moment. And so even like that community just, I don't know. And I see your cup, it's like above our kettle.
Oh, nice.
And I look at it all the time. Sometimes I have like a little bit of water in it, but it's a quite small cup.
Yeah.
I need to get into port drinking or something.
I have a little bit of a habit of drinking Amaros. Do you know, that's the Italian digestive. They're great in tiny cups. So my partner and I have a quite a big collection of cups in general, but the small ones are set aside for our little after dinner aperitivo. Is that the right word?
I don't know. I was like, sometimes have vitamin C powder in mine. Fancy, you know.
Maybe you need to step it up a notch to some booze.
Every time I find a really tiny ceramic cup, I think, oh, Bailey's cup, like this is it.
Oh,
piece of ice, Bailey's.
So good.
Fancy lady with the small cup.
Yeah.
So good.
Yum. Yeah.
Delish.
Love it.
Laura, can you tell us about the role of function and surface design in your work? So where you find your inspiration, what are your processes and your approach to glazing as well?
Yeah, okay, cool. So we were talking a little bit about carving before. So I think there's that sort of the first kind of edits that I make, or I guess wheel thrown, if it's a wheel thrown piece. It's the throwing first and then the carving. And with the carving, I'm making a bit of a decision about what type of carving will work with the clay body. So recently I've been making more porcelain pieces, but carving porcelain is really different to the other stoneware clay that I use. So, and it can be really cool, but it can tear more easily. So that's kind of a fun process in itself, just figuring that out. So certainly there's a response to the clay body in how I approach the surface treatment. And then, with glazing, I sometimes choose to do decoration on the pieces, so brushwork. And I love doing that. It's like a painting. And I love working with, usually they're stains that I've made, so it's a mix of oxides and clay, ball clay, so that it kind of adheres to the piece and expands and contracts with the clay, and it's a bit easier to for it to sit on the surface and not just rub up. So if I'm doing brushwork, I often use a larger brush first and make sort of big moves, usually quite wet, drippy kind of situation, a bit watercolory, and then I'll pick up tiny brushes and add little details. And that's kind of like my carving process as well. It's like big moves with the carving, and then pick up a tiny tool and make little marks and impressions. So there's sort of that process repeated with if I'm doing brushwork. And then with the glazes, I make my own glazes apart from clear glaze. I make all of them, and I really like that process of making and tweaking glazes. And generally, I apply glazing by pouring it on rather than dipping or brushing. And I really like, again, it might be a little bit about that kind of risk taking and like see where it flows kind of approach. Not that I'm not thinking about how I apply it, but by pouring the glaze and then moving the piece, the run and the direction of the glaze, I think, is quite interesting, and it kind of will, sort of fill pockets and have a little journey, which I think suits the kind of movement in my pieces as well, and that landscape nature. So sometimes, even when I haven't done that sort of detailed brushwork under the glazes, the drips of the glaze are kind of creating a picture as well. Yeah, and the overlaps of the different glazes, which is another point of interest. So what colour is made by overlapping our favourite pink and green, sometimes, purple. Yeah. Yes.
It's great, isn't it? It's like art and science.
Yeah.
Just creating this magic together.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were saying that you got a lot of your materials like in a kind of job lot from someone.
Yes,
yeah.
Beautiful older woman, Pam Cox. I think she was advertising a wheel or some piece of equipment, and so I went to purchase that, and then realised that she was retiring, and she was moving out of their house that she'd lived in with her family for decades, and she had this epic underhouse studio. So once I started chatting to her and realizing that she wanted to move on all of the, everything that she had there, I just said, can I take it all?
That's great.
And she was super chuffed, because I think there was so much value in what she had. She wanted to know that it was going to someone who would appreciate it. And I certainly have appreciated it. And at the time I didn't realize the value of what I was getting, I think. I knew it was awesome, but that was at the start of...
Even a bowl of tin, you're like, woo!
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, the monetary value, but also the... it's made me approach making glazes in a different way, because like I was saying to you before, I have these materials and I want to use them, and they don't go off, which is epic. So I, sometimes I'll think, I haven't used that. I wonder what that oxide will do. Let's see. Whereas I wouldn't do that if I was having to go and buy it from a shop. I would more look at a recipe. The process would be flipped, I guess. Yeah. So that's epic. But yeah, I also have some of her tools and some of her vessels that had the raw ingredients in them. So I feel like she's part of my studio, which is so nice. Yeah.
That's great. And I love how it almost feels like she gave you permission to make glazes and explore. Yes. And because there's somebody who's done it. And
that's so true. Yeah. That's a lovely way of looking at it. Yeah. She came to one of my first exhibitions at Paperboat Press. It was called Emerge, and I invited her because at the time she said, well, if you ever have an exhibition, please invite me. And so I did, which was so lovely. And she came and she brought a brooch that I'd made, and it was just so lovely. That was a really beautiful way to gain some what could be considered as raw materials and tools, but there's so much more. Yeah,
it's nice, those things.
Yeah.
Where does your work go in the world? Where?
Yeah, so on a basic level, there's retail stockists, so Open House West End and Museum of Brisbane and Paperboat Press at the moment, and Makers Gallery. I think Stephanie's got a few of my pieces still. So they're kind of local stockists. I've recently been looking further afield for stockists now that I might have a bit more time in the studio. And people certainly ask me directly to make work for them. I don't tend to do complex commissions, but if they've seen something of mine that they like, and often it's cups. I think I've made thousands of cups over the years. They'll say, could I have a set of 6 of these in this glaze that you do? And then we'll have a super nerdy conversation about exactly what type of drink they're having in the cup and what size it needs to be, which I love. And I've done some commissions for more sculptural work, which I'd love to do more of. So, and in that case, that's been 2 different developers that have approached me for kind of wall sculptures. So yeah, I'd love to do more of that. And where else does it go? Exhibitions. So yeah, so vast majority of the exhibitions I've done have been right here at Vacant Assembly, which is a happy situation because I don't have to cart things about the place or post things. Yes, I think that's the summary. And gifts, of course.
Yay.
My family and friends say that they still love receiving my ceramics for gifts.
It's always hard to know.
Yeah. Some of them I say, do tell me like when I need to stop.
Yeah.
Something we talked about on our latest episode was going to someone's house where they have a really early iteration of something you've made.
Yes.
It's like seeing your work in a museum. Almost.
Yeah.
It's so special.
It's really special. Yeah, there's certain friends of mine that have been great supporters of my work. Susie Wiley comes to mind. I went to her place recently, I hadn't been for a while, and I just was looking around and going, oh, wow, there's you know, a decade. It's a decade worth of my work in this house, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And to see it being used and see it in different, I don't know, like different scenarios and setups is really lovely. And it's the joy about ceramics, isn't it? Like it lasts. You know, they're tough pieces that can last a long time. So.
Unless you're my mum, she smashes like regularly. Smashing stuff like every week. She's like, "Hey, can I get another mug?" I'm like, "No,
you're banned."
That's where all the seconds go.
It's always good to have an outlet for the seconds.
Yeah. She's also got mosaic lady friends.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't get wasted.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's great.
All in mosaics across the Toowoomba region. Pottery. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. Also, Laura, is there anything else you'd like to share? I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but I did read that you did a residency in Meanjin.
Yes, that was so much fun. Yeah, actually, so another pottery friend, Julie Smeros, who is an artist at Vacant Assembly as well, years ago. Oh yeah, so that's when I had my studio at Mappin's Nursery down the road, and I was firing work for Julie on and off, and her beautiful partner Dimitri dropped in and he said to me, "Did Julie tell you about China?" And I was like, "No, what about China?" And he said, "Get her to tell you, ask her." And so I did, and she said, "Well, there's a residency in Jindajiang, but I couldn't go." And I went, "I'll come with you." And then she didn't really believe me, but I was like, "Yeah, of course we would go. Let's do that." And then another friend, Kai Curran, I told her, and she said, "I'm coming." And then she told her great friend Nick, and Nick was like, yeah, I'm on board. So there was 4 of us, which made it so fun. And it was short in terms of residencies. I don't think it was quite 4 weeks. I think it was maybe 3 weeks. So it was very much like an introduction to Jindajiang and some beautiful workshops that were really technical about particular kind of traditional processes. But also just studio time and immersion in that extraordinary city, which has been all about porcelain for eons, and you feel it. Like everything about that town is kind of because of the porcelain that was, that came out of the ground there. And really interesting to see the Chinese approach to production and making, which is very much like about skill, and people become really skilled at one part of the process. So there's mold makers, and there's, even watching work that is being thrown on a wheel, like one person will throw it, another will turn it, and the next one will decorate it. So it's like the most communal process you could have for a piece, which is so interesting. And just that reverence around skill and technique is really amazing. And just fun being in a great, in another culture and eating epic food and practicing Mandarin. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds so great.
Yeah. I would love to go back. But yes, international residencies. That's another kind of thing I've been clearing the decks for. So it feels like, why not?
You ready for another one?
Yeah.
Well, I reckon we should talk to you again after.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, great. Yeah, happy
Maybe
to.
we could all go on one together.
Yes. Let's.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Laura. It's
Thank
been
you.
so good having a chat. We'll link all your details in our show notes so people can get in contact with you through there. But yeah, it's just been a joy chatting.
Oh, thanks so much for thinking of me, and lovely to talk to you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed. You can find us on Instagram at birdsofclay_podcast. Please feel free to send us any questions or comments. And if you could leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, that would be amazing. We'll see you next time.